Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Morley.
And today's topic is one that I think many people can relate to. It's something that I know needs to be talked about and spoken about. I have not gone to the end of all of this, okay? I'm going to speak about this topic, but I have not come out at the other side to give you any kind of here I am as I work through all of that, but I'm working through it. And it's a big one, I think, for a lot of us. And I'll start off by saying this. If there's anything that Daddy's brought up in our relationship is that he's like, over the, years that we've been together, he's like, you don't open up that much. But when you get on social media, right, you just share with the world what's going on. And at first when he said that, I was like, what do you mean I share? And I started to realize, like, no, I don't share anything with anybody. I don't actually open up to anybody. I'm actually very closed in a program that I've run a lot in my life. And also being an interviewer for so long, like in my past career, it was always about making it about somebody else so that it's never about me. There's also a lot of wounding around feeling like I'm not worthy of speaking about myself. There's also like, well, people are never present with me, right? They're always trying to fix me or they dismiss me. And so why would I open myself to anybody? It's not worth it. But when I get on even a podcast or when I get on social media, I'm just speaking to a phone. I'm speaking into a microphone. And so there is nobody that I'm actually talking to, which allows this freedom for me to share. And obviously that's a lot of like inner child wounds and things like that. And so over the past 4 years that I've been, doing the work on myself, I now have this platform to speak about things that I would normally never share with anybody, right? And I have become very comfortable in just opening my mouth and speaking on camera. And so this has to do with the maybe like a couple of podcasts back when I had a fascia healing with Rachel Fiori and our chiropractor, for those of you who have listened to that episode. And like any healing that I go into, I never know what it's going to open up. I never know where it's going to go. And we started off the entire healing with what's something emotionally that you're moving through right now. And I was like, I'm moving through this wound that I've been carrying for a long time where I feel like I'm trash, like where I feel like I'm garbage, where I feel like I'm nothing. And as soon as she started, we started doing the work, I was like, oh, here we are. This is a mom wound. And if you've ever listened to any episode that I've ever made on this podcast, I talk a lot about, the things that I've been through with my mom. And when this episode of this healing came out, right before it came out, I got really triggered over the fact that I knew that I was the people were about to see me move through something and talk about things in regards to my mom, right? And so if you watch the healing, there's a lot of stuff that I share about what I went through with her, the things that, were less than loving that I experienced with her, and the trauma and all of the harm that was caused. And before this episode came out, I was like, oh my God, what if she hears this? What if it reaches someone in my family and it gets to her, and now she's going to have to hear essentially me exposing, and I want you to feel like even the words that I'm using, exposing her. And I started to observe all of the programs that started to come up and the brainwashing around family. And when, I was sharing this with Danny and I was like, I'm so triggered and I'm going through this. And he was like, well, if you expose her, I don't want to expose her because, and it was, well, she's my mom. And I was like, there's the brainwashing, right? The brainwashing around, well, she's your mom and he's your dad. And like, you don't ever want them to get hurt. You don't want to ever, reveal anything that's going to make them feel any kind of pain. And what I started to see and notice, I was like, oh, okay, here's another layer of how we protect the people that hurt us. And I see this in a lot of people that I coach, right? A lot of clients that I work with, a lot of students that I coach, is especially in the beginning of your journey, they go through a lot of like, oh, I have so much compassion for my parents because, I see their inner child and like, I know why they showed up the way that they showed up. And like, that's true for sure. The harm was caused to them, which is, affected them. They had no idea how to move through any of the things that they experienced from that trauma. But I always come back to this, that they didn't need to cause harm to others because harm was caused to them. That's a choice. So for example, if I grew up with my mom and there was a lot of harm that was done to me, I don't show up to my dog now and harm her and show up in all of the ways that I was harmed. I choose not to do that because why would I do that to I consider my dog my daughter. Like, why would I ever do that to my daughter? Right. And that doesn't mean that I'm 100% perfect. I catch myself when I show up like my mom. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, I'm so sorry. And I do the work around that. But we have to remember something. You can choose if you were abused as a child and you grow up and you abuse your child, that's an issue. That's a problem. And what we tend to do in this old earth patriarchy and all this brainwashing we have around family and all this bullshit is that, oh, I just have so much compassion. That's not truly what the way of compassion is. That's not the true definition of the way of compassion, is that you have compassion for your mom or your dad and you start seeing that they're just wounded, but you have, it's a way that we put ourselves second. And this is what I was doing, right? So I'm moving through this healing and it's going to be out there. And then all of a sudden I'm worried about what my mom's going to feel or what my mom's going to think. And this is what I've learned from the old earth. And even in my, specific family is just like, you push yourself aside for her. You come second to her. And a lot of my upbringing was like, it was about her and it wasn't about me. But this is where I've learned how to make it about others and not make it about me. And so when I was observing myself a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh, okay, look at what you're doing. And what came out of my mouth was, I'm protecting the person that hurt me because I don't want her to feel hurt and I don't want her to feel and see the truth. And I don't want her to feel the pain that she doesn't want to feel about how she actually showed up to me as a mom. And I was like, whoa, because what about me? Because I went through so much. There is so much that I'm healing because of the way that she chose to show up to me as my mom. And it really, really shined a light on this layer that I've worked for the last 4 years on layers of protecting her. I have. There's been detachment from her. There's been a lot, but there still is so much. Of course, I'm only 4 years into like really, unraveling the mom wound, but it was really shocking to me. And it's also projecting my own powerlessness onto her of like, she probably won't be able to handle her hearing this truth. And that's probably the truth. She probably can't handle hearing it. But why is that my burden to carry? Why do I choose to carry that for her and keep her in? And I'm sure she's done reflection. She has. I know that she has, right? But this is the truth. These are facts. I'm very fucked up and I've got a lot of wounding because of the way she was to me. That's the truth. But then here comes putting her in front of me again. So I'll start there.
Yeah. And if for anyone who's not seen that healing, I will put the link in the description below. I'd highly recommend going and watching. We show the full length healing of Ellie working with Dr. Hannah, the chiropractor, and Rachel doing hands-on healing. And it is such a beautiful video to watch. And there's also a podcast where Rachel and Ellie were kind of breaking down. It was all about fascia. It was just a few podcasts ago. So if you haven't watched those, I'd recommend going back and watching them to help understand a little bit more context of what we're speaking about here. But the first interesting thing you said here is like, you're worried about this video exposing your mom, right?
Mhm.
And the first thing like that's interesting for me hearing you say that is that I'm watching that video, I'm watching you move through all this pain, and I'm never thinking, oh, what a terrible mother, right?
Mhm.
All I'm focused on is how beautiful it is to see you move through this pain and how hard and challenging that would have been,
Mhm.
right? And if we're filled with judgment, maybe that is where we'll start to focus on. If we're filled with maybe other programs and frequencies, maybe that's what it will activate. You know, our programs create the filters in which we see this like reality through. So watching that video back, to me, it's not, this is why it's interesting when you first shared that, because to me, it's like, that's so funny that that's where your mind goes, because to me, it's like, just wow, how incredible it is to see you moving through such an incredible emotional, mental, spiritual transformation. Like you can feel it as you watch this like 30-minute healing. It's absolutely incredible. And not once when I watch it back am I like thinking about your mom. I'm just thinking about you and like how much pain you're clearly in and how incredible it is to see you actually healing it. But that's obviously, you know, what's inside of you is you're worried about seeing like other people seeing your mom in some kind of bad light.
Yeah. Because the next layer to this is, the word exposing, I think, is energetically interesting that I
Yeah.
use that word, because there's still an aspect of my inner child that wants to protect her,
Yeah.
that doesn't actually want anybody to know what she was like, because nobody does know. I mean, that's most parents. Most people don't know how your parents are like when they close the door. Behind closed doors, nobody really knows anybody, right? And so I don't want people to know that I went through these things with her. And it's still, and so where I got down to was like, yeah, because there's still aspects of my inner child that still are attached to her.
Yeah.
There are still aspects that need her, or want to keep her safe, because
Yeah.
there's an attachment there.
Yeah. Because there's still wounding in there, right? There's
Yeah.
still fractured parts of you. And let's go there as we kind of unpack this. But the whole, like, I just want to stay a little bit longer on this, like this whole idea of exposing, right? All you're doing is telling the truth or showing. That's it. This is the thing as well. That healing wasn't like you sat down with a pen and paper or a script and started to share, and vent about things that happened in your past. It was literally you moving through a heart-centered healing, right? And obviously that's you showing some really deep and vulnerable parts of you. So of course that's going to be challenging to have on video and put out to the world. Of course it is. It's very vulnerable to show, like, oh, what's inside there. But that's incredibly powerful and strong. And it's yes, it's vulnerable, but there is so much obviously power and strength and beauty in being able to go there. But then obviously there's this part of us, because I've moved through this a lot too, that feels like, well, I'm just pouring my heart out. I'm pouring everything out onto the world. And then the reality is, in this world, there are going to be people that judge you because this planet's super low. There are probably going to be people that judge your mom based on what you're sharing. But all you're doing is just sharing the truth. It's not like you were in that healing, you were making things up or you scripted out things that you were going to say. It's just like you sharing your heart. But then the programs come in and create this whole other like worry, anxious reality of like, oh my God, what are they going to think? And I'm sure, and I would love you to touch on this, like, I'm sure you're worried about the reaction of your mom and what that then she's going to feel about you. Because that's something that I struggle with. When I'm always worried that if I share too much on these podcasts, then it's going to shift. Like someone, if I talk about someone in my family, then they're going to hear and they're going to perceive it as me, shaming or blaming them because that's the programs that they carry, which has happened to me. And then that gets turned around and projected back onto me. And we, as we're moving through this process of healing and evolving, and if we are sharing this on camera, have to be powerful enough to take on those projections.
Yeah. And that's another thing too, is I never want any of that to be like I'm shaming or blaming them. All I'm here to do is work through what I have as a result of all of that, right? And it isn't about blaming or shaming them. But I also run this program where I have to say out loud, like I know that, she had to go through things and that's why she was the way that she was. And it's just this it's almost like I pendulum swing with going so far away from never shaming and blaming that I run this other program that there isn't a huge responsibility that she has to take on herself for what she did, or with the things, just the way that she showed up as my mom, right? And then my mind will go into this place of like, yeah, but Ellie, karmically, like this was exactly how it to go down. It's like, yeah, it did. Yeah, of course. But that doesn't it doesn't make up for the fact that I have to still move through healing so much pain that is here as a result of our relationship.
Yeah, it doesn't justify or excuse.
No, right. That's the word, justify.
Yeah, it doesn't justify or excuse. It's like this happened, and maybe this is kind of karmically or whatever on a grander whatever level. Maybe this is what I signed up for, and it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
It's not this is what, and this is where the spiritual bypass comes in of like, oh, well, this is what I signed up for in this lifetime. So I just need to kind of accept it, move on, and forgive. Right. And it's like, yeah. And this actually happened. The first way of oneness is the way of responsibility. So I'm going to hold you accountable for your actions, and I'm going to become responsible and heal the energy that's in me so that I don't repeat this cycle out into the world.
Yeah, 100%. And I also just feel like as we're recording this episode, I can feel that there are like emotions that are coming up for me. Like I just want to cry, because the truth of the matter is this. There is a little girl, many little girls, many wounded inner children of mine, that all she's ever wanted was nurturing and love and understanding and guidance. And I didn't get that. That's the truth, right? And the truth of that, like the fact that I caught myself running a program of wanting to protect her when there was no one to protect me, that to me is like, wow. Like like that's how deep the conditioning is. That's how deep this is, that I still have that in my fields and in my body, that I'm completely dismissing, negating, pushing me aside once again because I'm worried about how she's going to feel. And so when I was doing the work around this, like I was like, stop worrying about her. Like, I'm here to guide you back to you because of all of this that's being done. And there's still things that I have to work through. The fact that healing went out and that's out in the world, the fact that I'm even showing up in podcasts talking about this stuff shows me that I am so willing to speak about this, because sharing about this is also a part of the healing journey. It is also about alchemizing the programs in there that want me to protect her, that want me to keep my mouth closed, that want me to keep her safe, right? All of this is a part of it. But yeah, I get really emotional thinking about me. Thinking about all the times of why is my fascia in a mode where it's twisted and distorted? Why is the go-to fascia thing that my fascia knows how to do is to protect myself from abuse? Like, how many times did I have to experience that my fascia is distorted and thinks that safety is being in a distorted position? You know, like, that's what, like, I'm here to show up for me, to like be there for me, and to move myself through whatever healing needs to be done so that I can come back to me. And that means I have to move through all the pain, yeah, that was there with her, but then becoming what I was for her and what I still choose at times when I run these programs to be for her, to be that for me. Like, period, end of story. And this whole podcast episode is about how we protect so much the people that hurt us, and it's such a lack of protection for ourselves. That's what it is.
Yeah, and when you would in the past, you know, maybe disrupt disrupt the peace within your family, you know, what was it met with? Was it met with, you know, open arms of love and compassion, or is it more of what you've kind of already shared?
I mean, when it came to her, I mean, it just wasn't a safe space.
Yeah.
It just was not a safe space in any way. But there was so much enmeshment there. There was so much attachment there. There was so much codependency there that time and time again, I would just go to her as if I'm wishing that, oh, this time it'll be different. Like, it'll be a different outcome if I share this with you, if I express this to you, if I show up and telling you that I'm depressed or I'm messed up or I'm not okay, that it's going to somehow be some kind of safe place. And it never was, right? And that's my mistake. But I mean, I don't know who else to turn to, right? When I'm so messed up emotionally and mentally, you just go to your mom. That's the brainwashing over and over and over again. So I'm just hurting myself over and over and over again. And that's all you know till you realize, like, oh, I can't go to you. This
Well,
isn't a place that I can share and be safe at all.
yeah, it is the brainwashing when you get older, but the thing is when you're young, that is who you're supposed to
Yeah.
go to. And this is the thing, is these parts of us are trapped at this young age. And so because we're so mentally and emotionally young and we're so immature, with no shame, no judgment to ourselves, but because we are trapped at a certain age, that part of us is doing what it should do, it needs to do, or thinks it needs to do, because it's still 2-3 years old, which is, I'm not okay right now, I need my mom. I'm not okay right now, I need my dad. Like, that's a natural response for a really young kid. The issue is because of the traumas that have been created, we're then locked in this young age, replaying out that energy as a 30 however, you know, year old adult. And then that's when it becomes the issue, is now we're a mature physically being, but we're still trapped mentally and emotionally in the energies of attachment and neediness and codependence, which is, you know, as we're born into this world, we're mush. We're just this like little fragile infant ball of beautiful unconditional love and potential. And we need, you know, correct guidance and mentoring and teachers to elevate and mature us as we grow into our physicality as a human. But then when we don't have that, you know, growing up, and we're met with abuse and lack of safety, and, you know, none of us have enlightened parents who are effectively guiding us. And this is why it's not to shame, blame, or judge any of our parents. It's just to say, yeah, this is what happened. This was what I got brought up with. And then you layer that in with the conditioning we have about family is everything. Everything is about, you know, your family. I actually had a conversation with somebody last night at work. She was from Russia, and she was like, oh, you know, do you miss home? And I'm like, yeah, I miss some of the people, you know. And she was like, well, what about your parents? And I was like, yeah, well, I mean, they live 5,000 miles away. And she was like, well, do you not miss them? And I was like, well, no, not really. Like, I'm 32 years old. Like, I'm a grown-up adult. I should be elevating and matured out of constantly needing my mom and dad. And she was like dumbfounded that I wasn't like, oh, I miss my parents so much. And if like probably like 3-4 years ago, I'd be like, oh, I miss them so much. And I realized as I've elevated and healed is like those energies of constantly missing mom and dad, that is just a really wounded young part of us that still thinks that it needs them. And true like what we would want for your children is to mentally, emotionally mature so you don't need anyone else. And that's the guidance that we didn't receive. That no, you rely on you love yourself, you nurture yourself, and you mature yourself up through this world. And it would be beautiful if we could offer that to children, but that takes a much more higher level of consciousness being than generally what we have on the planet right now.
Yeah, it's actually really sad because when your parents are so wounded as well, a lot of people start to emotionally depend on their child. So their child starts giving them everything that needs to be filled in them, right? So whether it's an identity, whether it's fulfillment, whether it's needing them for emotional dependency, whether it's needing them because they feel lonely, whatever it is, that gets projected onto the child a lot, whatever is uniquely unique to the parent. And so because with me, there was so much, I need you. There was so much like, I've spoken about this, but like my parents didn't let me out a lot. I mean, I was with them a lot. All right. A lot. Like I was not really free to like, Danny always talks about like, oh yeah, every day, like I'd sleep over a friend's house and like I was out all the time. Like I wasn't out that much. I was always with them, and I had strict curfew and I didn't have I was allowed to have a lot of sleepovers, then I went through this whole period, even as an adult, where my mom was very controlling about, me leaving the house. So there's all of that too. And after a while, you just, I mean, I've always succumbed to them. I've never been the kid, even though I had like, be like, this isn't fair. And I would cry about it. I would always listen to them. I was like, I have no say in any of this stuff. And so that enmeshment piece, I mean, I was consenting to it constantly. I was constantly consenting to the fact that there is a really sick amount of enmeshment here. She needs me, and I can feel and see how much she needs me. And then I'm brainwashed with all of this. Well, she's my mom, and I want to be here for her, and I want to give her all this love, and I blah, blah, blah. So then I'm just saying yes to all of the enmeshment and consent, and it's destroying me, but it's feeding her wounding. So all of the years of that is ingrained in me. And so it's going to take a while for me to get all of that out, detach from it and alchemize it, right? And having this healing really showed me like, oh my God, there is still so much there. And I don't know, it's been something that's been really alarming to me, and then frustrated, and then I get really angry about it. And then I'm pissed of how brainwashed we are when it comes to family. Like the brainwashing around family, oh my God, it's so fucking deep. And it is so messed up. And it is twisted in so many ways. It's twisted.
Yeah, it's like created to ensure that we stay super trapped at a unhealthy enmesh level. Because the truth of the matter is, if somebody was, if you were walking down the street and somebody just hit you in the face out of nowhere, would you want to be friends with them? Right?
No.
You're like, no, like, unless they really were like, oh my God, I mistook you for the wrong person, But for the most part, you'd be like, that's not somebody that I want to keep in my life.
Right.
But then if you've gone through that level of abuse in your childhood, and then you're like, yeah, but it's my mom or it's my dad or whatever.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, so why do I want to keep them really close in my life? And this
Yes.
starts to touch on, like, I think, is it called Stockholm syndrome, where you like fall in love with your abuser? Is
Yeah.
that the correct term? I believe it is. And yeah, it's a very strange phenomena where, you know, the person who's causing you all of the pain or has caused you all of the pain, there's like some kind of energetic attachment because you've not processed and healed from that pain. So there's like a draw there. There's like it's still, the energies are still all intertwined. It's like you get sucked back in energetically to that whole scenario. And if you start to separate and, you know, start to do the work and heal, all of that pain and trauma is going to start to come up to the surface, which means in order to actually go through the process of divine separation and say, you know, I need to look after me and heal myself, and I don't, you know, I need space physically, you know, or whether it's like energetically, then I have to be ready to feel all of the pain that from the trauma that was created, because now I'm creating that space. It's going to allow that to come up.
Yeah.
And that can be very, very obviously challenging because, I mean, it's trauma, and there's a reason why we haven't processed it yet. And that's why obviously you get the coaching and you learn this work and you learn how to connect to your heart. And that's obviously the work that like Ellie and myself and all the coaches help people work through, is like how to actually connect to your heart and start to understand the programs that are in there and energetically begin to transform. Because as you create that space, the stuff is going to come up, or you just stay attached in this really unhealthy, immature manner.
Yeah. And, you know, the brainwashing around the family thing is so deep. And like you said, like, if you had a friend and your entire relationship was emotionally, psychologically abusing you, manipulating you, controlling you, one day you would wake up from that and be like, fuck you. I don't want you in my life. Easy. You cut them off. But we don't do that with our family because their mom or their dad.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't even make any sense. And this is what's been ripped from us in patriarchy. There is no common sense. There's no, oh yeah, right. That makes sense to not mess with. And, you know, I've heard this too, you know, from my parents, but you know, you're our daughter. You're our daughter. And it's this constant manipulation. And I share this with you, Nanny, but like when I was moving through all of this and when I was having the mental programs run, I was observing them. And some of the mental programs that ran, because of this enmeshment, because this attachment, because of this protecting, I started running programs that said, oh, maybe it wasn't that bad. And maybe it wasn't what you thought it was. And, you know, she did love you. There were times that were good. You know, there were times where she showed up in a different way, you know, and I was like, wow. And I was just watching them and I was like, yeah, we're not doing that. Because that right there is what keeps my inner child wounded and dismissed and abandoned and abused and fucked up.
Yeah, we're just locking that part of us that is actually in pain and needs our help away. And it doesn't mean that as we really heal and elevate and evolve, you know, we don't have a level of honoring and gratitude as we really elevate for, you know, the role that our parents played. And what I found is the more that I've healed and healed a lot of the pain, the good memories organically come back. And healing can be this kind of this place of, oh well, I've healed enough now that I'm not carrying all of the pain and we'll call it like the negative kind of emotions that were trapped in there. And that's allowing me to reflect back and remember kind of like the good times. And I've had this a lot over the past few years where I'll just have sporadic memories come back. But and then that allows me to be in like a more elevated place of like, oh, I do see that it wasn't personal to me. You know, what I received wasn't personal to me. It was their programs that they were running. And I can see that now as the way of wisdom. I can see that. And I'm not taking it personally because I've healed so much to the point that those frequencies, they don't even exist in me anymore. And I'm able to actually honor the beauty that was there, that they, you know, the ways that they did show up and that they were my parents. But that we don't jump there, just as you're saying, as a way to avoid the pain, to justify, to excuse, to bypass, right? That's a process that you actually have to go through. And that requires first us all honoring ourselves. Like, we have to honor us first in order to actually get to a place where we can actually honor what it is that our parents did do for us. And, you know, the old, like, you know, mindset, fake spirituality, false light teachings out there. Oh, just be grateful. You should be grateful. It's like, well, yeah, it would be nice to be grateful for, you know, the way that was brought up. But I've got all of this stuff that I still need to work through before I can actually feel that gratitude. And this is why Fiori always says, throw your gratitude journal in the trash, because you can't force yourself to feel gratitude. You can heal all the parts of you that are showing up, whatever's unique to you, whatever's in there of why you can't feel gratitude for your upbringing. It's because there's so much in there that you need to unpack. And that might mean I need to be left alone for a while, and I need to just completely honor me and my journey. That becomes really challenging when we live in a world that blood is thicker than water.
Yeah. And I also I'm not in a place right now where I can have any kind of gratitude for anything. I have moments where I'm like, oh, okay, I had to go through all of that to become what I'm becoming, 100% for sure. But I'm not in a place where I can make any decision about what kind of relationship I want to have with them at all. Right now, what I need for me is that we are across the country from each other, and that is perfect for me right now. That is wonderful for me. And I look forward to getting to a place where I am completely healed from all of it. I can see everything for what it is. And then I get to choose, do I want them in my life or not? Simply a choice. Like, I want to get to a place of power from that, because right now I'm not in that place where I know exactly what, what it's going to look like for me and for her. I'm not. I do my best in really I really do a beautiful job, and I'll commend myself on this, on not projecting when I want to get pissed, because there are things that she says that are triggering me. I commend myself for pausing and like walking away. Sometimes I walk away for too long. Sometimes it'll be like 3 weeks, and then I'll get a message from my divine team. It's like, okay, you need to go back to that thing. It's like, okay. But I do a really good job. I can't say that with my dad yet, but with her, I've been working on that. But I do look forward to the time where it's like, all right, I really truly understand what all of that was, and I'm truly in a place of like, karmically, I did what I came here to do. I know exactly what this was all about, and I am serving the mission that my soul came here to become because of all of that. But I'm not there yet.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can have like, I have a lot of gratitude for some friends that I grew up with in my childhood. I have gratitude for friends that I had in my 20s. Do I still talk to them? No. Right. It was a period of my life where we were in each other's, reality. And we were, we had beautiful relationships. Right. There was a lot of, patriarchy programs in there, wounding that was playing out, of course. Right. But I can look back, I can see that those programs were playing out with particular people in my life. I'm like, oh yeah, they were playing this role. He was playing that role. She was playing this role. And it's beautiful. I'm grateful for it. Why? Because I'm not holding on to and harboring all this like blame and resentment, because I've actually done the work to heal it, not just because I do the religious thing of, oh, you just need to forgive everyone. Like, come on, man. Like, you got to actually move through the process of what the way of forgiveness actually is, which is I heal myself. I go into every part of my shadow that's actually showing up that is in pain. And that requires me, first way of oneness, holding people accountable, right? Full circle, bringing it back. Like, holding the people accountable that did actually hurt us without blame, without judgment. And that's really hard to wrap your head around when you aren't actually doing the full work on yourself. Is like this when I started to share about things that I experienced when I was a kid on this podcast, it blew up stuff in my family. Yeah, I had aunts and all this like stuff going on, and they all felt like I was just exposing and outing my mom and blaming her. And it's like, that isn't all what I'm doing. I'm just sharing about the pain that I go through and the pain that I went through as a child. I'm not saying it's their fault. Was it their responsibility, and did their actions create this that I'm now actually doing the work to heal and elevate out of? Yeah. And if you can't handle that, I'm going to go with one of Rachel's favorite quotes right now. Your emotional fragility, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
I love that one that she says.
Yeah. And I, something too is like, the feedback that I get from certain family members, the feedback is always about what they want so they feel better and they feel good and they feel happy. And it's completely disregarding and dishonoring me, right? Because, and this is what unconsciousness is, right? I know that they're not aware of this, but when they reach out and they say certain things, it's to serve them so they feel better. It's and this is what they've always done. It's a complete dismissal of like, well, what does Ellie feel and what does Ellie actually need? That's going to be for her, because the way of honoring truly is, I honor what you need to move through, and I will love you from afar. But where they come from is, do this for me so that I feel better, and it doesn't matter what you need. And I will never do that for anybody. From here on forth through the rest of my days, I will never, ever, ever completely push me aside to make another being happy or feel better. Like, I've done that my entire life. Just sacrificing myself, dismissing myself, pushing myself down. And it's like, no, on this path, hell no. And whatever that brings up for them, probably a lot of them don't have the capability to process and move through it. But again, it's not my problem. And that might sound a little cold. It's not, though. It's actually a loving thing you do for another soul. Is like, you're welcome that the pain that needs your love is actually here for you to go into. It's not my job anymore to keep you so emotionally fragile, to keep you happy so you never feel pain. That's not power. And what you're actually projecting is complete powerlessness. And if I really am honoring another soul, I would never do that. So I choose not to do that. And so whatever pain it brings up in you, when I create a boundary, when I say no, I'm doing this for me, if you don't compute that or take that in as love, then it's not my issue. It's not my problem. And that's just what it is.
Yeah. And to be at that place of like true, that's like so obviously so powerful to be like, nope, like that's your stuff, that's your problem. We have to be like really rooted in ourselves. We have to be really grounded in ourselves, because people are going to come and project on you when you start creating those boundaries and start showing up that way. And this is what it means to really become a divine being, is that I show up as me in my fullest expression as a divine soul, not catering to other people's needs. And it doesn't mean that I don't obviously like take into consideration how people feel, but not from a place of powerlessness.
Yeah.
Right. Creating boundaries it's not about creating harm in other people. It's about honoring ourselves and where we're at. And if they take that as personal, then they're going to probably have some kind of emotional reaction.
Yeah.
And the work is for us is when they do, like if they do, like this is a common one for me, is like I worry about saying too much in this podcast and people in my family taking it personally. And then it's like, okay, and why am I worried about that? Because I'm worried that they're gonna be offended and feel really bad. And it's like, okay, do you not want them to feel that way? No, I don't want them to feel bad. Why don't I want them to feel bad? Because I don't want to feel bad. And I know what it's like to feel bad. When we move through this process, it transforms into I'm okay with going in and feeling bad. And eventually, that power that we find within ourselves to go within ourselves and feel bad and negative and powerless and weak and shame and whatever it is, we then start emanating that power outwards. And then this is how our relationships start to evolve. And we have our family showing up and we're starting to share different things and be in our power. And then they start having emotional reaction. And instead of me changing who I am and dimming my light and just trying to make them happy, I'm able to detach because I found the power within myself and go, oh, like, yeah, you're now running this program. I see it. And that's okay. If you are angry, that's totally fine. You're not allowed to project that on me. But yeah, you're totally fine. Go away. Or if you feel terrible about yourself, or if you don't want to talk to me ever again, that's fine. I am right here whenever you want to again.
Yeah.
And this is how our relationships evolve as we do.
Yeah. So there's these moms that show up sometimes on my TikTok feed, and they share about my kid doesn't talk to me anymore, and my kid hasn't spoken to me for years. You know why? Because I was horrible to them growing up. I was an alcoholic. I abused them, and I take full ownership of that. And he doesn't, or she doesn't ever have to talk to me, but I am right here and I will love them unconditionally. And I take accountability for the way that I showed up. When I see videos on that, I'm like, hell yeah, because that actually is love. That is actual love. And it's powerful. And everyone that always comments, they're like, wow. Because this is the olders, we don't know things like this. We don't see things like this. And so when I see that, I'm like, wow, that is honoring your child and what your child is choosing. And I don't know if the child's actually doing any work on themselves, right? They might just be, just being like, I'm not going to talk to you because I hate you, but I'm not going to actually heal myself. I don't know. But the way that the mother shows up, when I see that, I'm like, wow, so this is possible, for our parents to show up in this way if they choose to really go on that journey.
Yeah, and she is, this example that you're offering is creating an ability for, she's honoring her child in the,
Yeah.
if they're in pain, and she's actually creating the potential for actual true connection to happen without forcing it, without going into, oh, you have to talk to me, I'm your mother, or you have to talk to me because we're related, we're family, which only pushes when you're, you can feel the energy behind that just pushes you further further away, just like you shared, Elle, because you can feel, oh, that's a super selfish energy.
Yeah.
That isn't selfless. Yeah, that person isn't coming to you being like, oh, like I honor where you're at, let me put you first, because I know that I messed up. It's no, like you have to, like you need to do this, I need this from you, I need your, I need the validation that my daughter loves me or my son loves me or whatever, right? And yeah, it can get really interesting when you start to set these boundaries.
Yeah. And I know that everybody will have, their unique journey with all of this. I mean, this is some stuff that we're all learning how to unravel and to deprogram and de-brainwash from all of it. And so I really hope this episode helps anybody to really take some time to reflect and really start to feel, because the parent part of the journey is definitely something we can all relate to.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean just because Ellie and I have shared this, right? Everybody's different, right?
Yes.
Don't just hear this and be like, oh my God, I need to cut my parents out of my life. You just, if you did that, if you listen to this podcast and that's what you took away, you just may have run a program from patriarchy. And that's not what we're trying to do here. We're evolving to oneness consciousness, which means I connect to my heart, my soul, and I learn how to become the ways. And what that means is, in the context of this conversation, is if you feel the calling from a deep place within, where you can see that you are running programs of protecting parents and not holding them accountable, and there is a part of you that you've been dishonoring that actually needs a lot of space, great. If you haven't, you don't need to do any of that. You never need to force yourself to create a boundary where it's not needed. And in fact, if you do, you're coming from the wrong energy. You're coming from force. You're not following your heart. You're not connected to your power. It will emanate from in you as you start to heal and elevate for real. If you need to do that, you might have parents that already completely honor you. I don't have a clue who your parents are, right? Ellie and I are not here to say this is how you should, do things or be. We are all unique in our journey here. The work is what programs am I running, and how am I exchanging energy with everybody? And do I need to actually create more boundaries to maybe honor myself more? Because energetically, I can feel there's still an attachment right here. And if you want to learn how to actually understand everything that we're saying, this is literally what you learn as a student at MSU. So Ellie and I.
Can I say something really quickly?
Yeah.
This just came to me. We will reach true compassion when we have fully moved through and healed everything that's there for us to heal when it comes to a parent. Then you'll be in a powerful place of like, oh, I have so much true compassion because she went through what she went through, and it won't be rooted in a program or woundedness. Just want to add that.
Yeah, because most of us don't have a clue what compassion is. We
No
don't.
idea.
And energetically, we don't. We don't. And if you say, I do, you probably don't. You probably don't. Go read Mason's Way. Read about the Way of Compassion. Way of Oneness, number 7, I think, somewhere around there. Beautiful Way of Oneness. And we mostly, it's filtered through our programs of powerlessness and pity and inferiority and superiority and all that kind of fun stuff. But if you enroll as a student, you actually get to learn energetically how to experience and integrate what the Way of Compassion actually is. Why? Because you get to attend classes with Rachel. You get to actually be taught by Rachel in a class called Becoming the Ways, levels 1, 2, and 3. It's a class that every student is in. It is so magical because this is where we really do actually get to learn from a divinely powerful, enlightened being who can actually teach us and guide us to become these ways for real, not just read about them in a book or listen to them on a podcast, just like this one. It's about actually doing the work. That's what MSU is created for. All these podcasts and, extra stuff is just to get the word out, but it means nothing unless we actually choose to do the work on ourselves.
Yep. So if you are interested in enrolling, our spring semester starts in January 2026. Check out Master of Self University and sign up for first access to our free student enrollment meetings to enroll as a student. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate you all. And until next time, we'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye.